So
Yeah. I mean,
so that was kinda cool.
biofuel is a good idea that doesn't work, unfortunately. As we found out the other day, the experts have now said that biodiesel does more to harm the environment than it does to save it. It puts pollutants into the air, and you have to use more energy to produce biodiesel than it produces, and you take food out of the food chain.
Is that more for ethanol or?
That's biodiesel, period.
Oh, because I know and that's one of the challenges is, like wind power.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges with wind power is environmentalist, and it takes a lot more energy to create it. It costs a lot more to create.
Well, because most of the parts that you build have to be made out of. It takes a lot of effort to create the materials that go into wind power. And they're trying, it's not the point where it's a wash yet. I think it's, what was it, 27 cents? It costs you $1.27 for every dollar that you make.
And actually, that was one of the most surprising things that we've seen, because we've gone to a wind power conference.
Yeah.
And they were really out about educating the public. I don't know how it's going to be fair under this administration.
Yeah, but I mean, one thing though, the wind power people were honest and upfront that it is a money-losing proposition at the moment, and it will continue to be because there is no infrastructure for getting the power from where the towers are. You have to be able to have the lines; they don't exist.
Right, and you have to be able to connect the grid.
Yeah, and there's no grid for it.
That's the challenge for it. Now, here's one of the things is when you're altering your transportation. I thought this was kind of cool. This is by Third Planet Energy, and you know how your letters. You put biodiesel in front, veggie terminal diesel.
Yeah.
For all the times we've been to SEMA and the LA Auto Show and all these auto things, I haven't seen anything like this.
Well, no.
And you knew it existed.
I think, okay, the impractical is the practical of tomorrow.
Yeah.
So just because you laugh at something, I mean, they laughed at Wright Brothers. That's
true, and all of it takes time, but it's
progression. Okay, as much as I think that DTV, HDTV is a big boondoggle, eventually their prices will be down and everybody will have a ton of the things. The same thing as this. I mean, it's all cost way too much in the beginning.
And a lot of times it costs more in the beginning is because, well, they're not doing it as much.
Yeah, and it's just expensive to get it off the... off the box. That's right.
Okay, number 9, switch your school buses. So lobby your principal, PTA, and school to switch to sustainable biodiesel. Oh God,
get buses that actually are full. I mean, they put these. I was told years ago when I shut my young ones off.
You're thinking about regular buses or
school buses too. The school bus would have like about 12 kids on it. Because that's all the people were in our area was like 12, and they sent out a bus that held 60. And you know why they sent out a bus that held 60?
Is that the bus they had?
Because that's the bus that the government said they had to buy with their money. Not buses to fit the route, but buses the government said they had to buy in order to qualify.
They all standardized.
Yeah,
the government at work. But getting biodiesel buses, now that's great, whether it's your school buses or city falls under a different area.
My guess,
but that's so you don't breathe in some of those.
Honestly, I would probably because we know biofuels are on the way out. I would go for electric buses probably, because they don't go that far in a day.
That's true. They don't go that far in a day.
They don't go that far in a day. They could be recharged every night easily. They don't do 100 miles a day. The buses.
That's true.
That's right. So the cheapest method is electric buses.
Number 8 is buy wind.
And we do know that wind is because wind is a good idea. I grew up on a truck farm out here, which they did have farms, and we used wind power.
Well, and I want to say there's wind and then there's wind. Okay, It says get a wind turbine, invest in wind energy, or switch your electricity provider to a company with wind power. Now, when I say there's 2 different types, now I've seen Ed Bailey, he put like a wind turbine or something on the top of his roof.
You have to get a variance from your from your community, and a lot of, in Southern California, for instance, they don't allow you to block the view of a neighbor on homes in a lot of cases, so you're not going to be able to put something up in the
So
air.
that's going to apply to you whether you're doing wind power or solar power.
That's right.
Now, if you do small wind and you've got all the acreage, that's one thing. But a lot of the things that you're thinking about are those huge wind farms.
Yeah.
Now, that's where the environmentalists have the problem because it gets involved.
Well, they basically have to put them in the flight
path.
paths of birds.
Yes.
And the birds don't know they're there, even though they're huge structures, they can't really see them.
Well, they don't understand it. They
And
don't know. And they suck them in when they get close.
And we're talking about things, we're not talking about small things. A turbine can be the size of this home.
Well,
That's just the engine part.
Yeah, because remember when we've seen those wind turbines that they're talking about, the propellers.
The propeller is 100 foot long.
Yeah, I mean they're huge.
And there's 3 of them.
They're huge. So I mean, okay. So anyway, so check it out because the more you know, I think the better off you are. And actually, this is something that helps educate.
Knowledge never hurts anybody.
Number 7 is get solar. Put solar panels on your house. Invest in solar energy, or switch your electricity provider to a company with solar energy.
Oh yeah, one of the homes that we built deliberately so it faced the sun most of the time, and we had a little unit in a room that where the room was all glassed in. We had a little unit that pumped all of the heat from that room into the rest of the house.
Yeah.
And it cost us nothing. We had a little tiny pump was all it was that did the whole home.
Well, then do you have something that takes the solar energy and contains it to be distributed for later?
We basically had a house that was very well constructed, and once it came into the house, it kept it warm in the winter.
Oh, well, that's nice.
And in the summer, we reversed everything. We took the heat, we took the same pump that pumped air in, and we pumped all the hot air out. So it kept the house. Our house was built sort of like an old-fashioned fort, solid. Air didn't come in, air didn't go out. Most houses leak air.
Yeah.
This one was built not to leak air, but it was built deliberately for that purpose. It cost nothing to heat, and then we did have a furnace. We had a wood when it get cool at night. We did have a heatilator on our wood furnace. And basically what we did, because we were in the construction business, we took the scraps that weren't usable for anything, cut them up, and then used them to feed the wood furnace all winter long.
Well, also check your local area because there are some areas that do solar subsidies.
Yep.
That help you do them.
As you get closer to Riverside, Palmdale, and places out here, you're going to see that.
I think even here in LA.
Yeah, no, you can get.
I know they use
the state of California will give you. Basically X amount of money if you put solar in on your home. But it isn't it's not the cost of putting the solar in, it's the cost of doing the battle to be able to put the solar in.
Oh.
Because until a few weeks ago, it was illegal to have your solar units block another person's view.
Well, that's part of it, especially if you have a view home.
Yep.
Number 6, invest in algae. Put your money into sustainable algae companies to build algae ponds in deserts and also from wastewater or carbon sequestration. Yeah,
the problem is wastewater is a pollutant. And if that pollutant is basically going to get, you're going to have to build huge ponds. The ponds are going to have to be lined with plastic. The plastic has to be made from petroleum. And you're taking water out of the water supply that could be processed for people to drink.
But if this is wastewater, aren't you fine?
Yeah, but wastewater can be treated to make into regular water.
See, one of the things for Old Cam is in addition to being a historian, he also watches the Green Channel. I watch all these things. The Green Channel, Discovery Channel,
History Channel, Public Broadcasting. So I actually know what's going on out in the business. I know the big problem is that with the whole bio bit is that you have to take from one area to put into another area, and the other area therefore loses something. And to an environmentalist, I will guarantee you that this is what one of them said, one of the major ones yesterday. Human life is irrelevant when it comes to saving the planet.
Well, and part of it is there are unintended consequences that happen. For example, with ethanol.
They basically caused a problem with rice and corn shortage around the world with their desire to make ethanol. And basically they're okay, so they are fuel neutral, I think, in Brazil, but they are burning the rainforest down at ungodly amounts
to replant it.
to replant it with beets to make sugar to convert into fuel.